So thank you for doing this, of course. And I think you're a standout on a standout show with an amazing cast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And I saw you first on The Daily Show. And when
Mhm.
I saw you, I knew you had something special.
Oh,
And
thank
since
you.
then, I kind of kept an eye on you and saw your career taking off. And when I saw you join Shrinking, I was like, oh, you know, fantastic.
That's very
It's
nice.
great to
Thank
see.
you, Steven.
Oh,
Steve.
we're
I
there.
didn't know. Well, before we started recording, we were like, do I call you Steven? Do I call you Steve? And then I got in my head about it. It was the first time. I'll do better next time.
Hey, either way is fine.
Thank you.
But so I want to go back to the beginning a little bit, like where you started. What drew you to acting at first?
I think what drew me to acting, I grew up in LA and my grandma, she would babysit me a lot in the Valley, and she was very into, she would watch a lot of late nights. So she'd watch like Saturday Night Live, she'd watch Mad TV, she'd watch like Adult Swim, and she'd also watch like South Park, The Simpsons. So she watched a lot of like comedy stuff, and she really liked comedy movies. And so when she'd watch me, it would be super fun because I get to stay up as late as I wanted and hang out with her, and we'd watch like Clue and murder mysteries and stuff like that. So I think that kind of drew me to acting, was like I wanted to do comedy and do something that she would watch because we spent so much time watching TV together.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Were your comedy inspirations and influences through the
Um,
shows that you watched, or did you
Oh
have
my
others as
gosh.
well?
I watched all sorts of stuff growing up. A lot of The Simpsons, I remember South Park, I'd watch it with my grandma. And then I watched a lot of Saturday Night Live. So I really like watching like Sherry O'Terry, Molly Shannon, Maya Rudolph, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Anna Gasteyer, like all those women I really liked watching. And then my brother and I, we also just liked watching like really silly movies. Like we would watch kind of everything that came out at the time. So we watched a lot of like Blue Streak. Like we watched like really funny. Like one of my favorite movies I remember seeing was Bringing Down the House. We grew up in a house where there was like a TV in every room. And so, and even in the car, like in the back seat of my dad's truck, like he would have, there was like a way to watch the TV. So we just watch movies. And my dad loves movies. Like I remember once like a Harry Potter movie came out, and my dad like literally picked me and my brother up like at the second to last period of school to take us to go see it. Like movies and TV were really a shorthand in my house. And so I really fell in love with it. It's always existed to me.
That's great. And see, so everyone watching this, you can, especially the young kids who are watching TV and movies and all that, it does lead to big things. So
Oh
stop, don't.
yeah, I definitely don't have the palette of like someone who's like, oh, I love this Monty Python thing, or I love old SNL or something like that. Mine's is a lot sillier and more modern, where I'm like, oh, I love this bit that they did on White Chicks where, la la la. Or my favorite movie is Men in Black, probably. And I really grew up liking Will Smith a lot and his like timing and everything. So like with that and the Fresh Prince, comedically I liked him, and Queen Latifah I liked a lot too. And I still really love her. I think she's just so funny. So
Yeah, that's great. We need
yeah.
all different types. All the comedy should not all uh, originate from one source. It's great
God, I
to
hope
have it,
not.
to find it
Yeah.
elsewhere. Yeah,
I
we
hope
need like
not. Yeah.
millions
Yeah.
of voices.
Yeah. It's just funny to see like how it all kind of comes together. And especially
Hmm.
like I feel like on Shrinking, I really got an opportunity to kind of goof around a lot. And really I'm just an amalgamation of friends that make me laugh, and my parents and my family that make me laugh, and just jokes that I think are funny. And it's just really funny to see it kind of all kind of come together. And I think it especially does in Shrinking.
Now, how did you get involved with the series? When you got involved, did you know who else was on board? What was like, at what stage
Uh,
did you enter?
I heard they wanted to meet with me, and they're meeting with a few actresses for the part of Gabby. And so initially I met with um, Neil, our head writer, Brett, Goldstein from Lasso, Bill
Mhm.
Lawrence from Lasso, and Jason Segel. So I met with them. It was a really good meeting. Shout out to Liza, who works at Doozer, but I think maybe she pitched me. I think she saw Love Life season 2, which was a show that I had done a year prior that I had a lot of fun with. And so I met with them, and it was like an hour. Like it was a nice, really long meeting. And I remember being like, oh, I like these people. And I have a basketball court and all this stuff in my backyard, and they all like basketball. And so it was really fun. And for Gabby, I just kind of knew that Jason was on board, and I'm a big Jason Segel fan. And for Gabby, they didn't really know how they wanted her. Like, she's not really in the first couple episodes, but the plan was that she would always come into her own throughout the rest of the season. And they said that they really wanted, like, for her, however she was characterized, they wanted her to be fit to the actress that was playing her. And they also wanted her to balance out the other two guys at her office. So Jason Segel, whose character is grieving on the show from something really traumatic. And then Harrison Ford, whose character Paul is grieving, he's grieving kind of the loss of this relationship he's had with his daughter, as well as he's diagnosed with Parkinson's. And so he's going through his own version of grief. And that Gabby really needed to balance them out and sort of be this sort of colorful, somewhat bubbly person in the office that could be a bit meddling and annoying. And then another big thing was that Bill Lawrence made it very clear that I could improvise, because they had seen The Daily Show and stuff like that. And they knew I came from a comedy background. And so they were like, we love for you to improvise on set. And so that was really exciting. And then I think very quickly I found out I got the job. Like, I don't remember, but it had to have been the next day or that night or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so it was just kind of a no-brainer. And then like a couple of days after that, I found out Harrison Ford had signed on, and it was one of those things where I was like, holy shit. Yes. It was just way better than I even imagined. It was really awesome. That was a great feeling, finding out it was going to be Harrison Ford.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I had this weird theory watching it, and about halfway through, I was like, is she actually in the room, or is she like an angel or a muse bringing in this positivity and humor and energy to all the situations? Because you're kind of a breath of fresh air. It's wonderful. But then I realized that theory doesn't hold water. But go ahead.
No, I was acting, and I was acting really hard. So I really appreciate it. I mean, it was like when it's right and it's well written, and the people in charge let you just kind of go, and then it all comes together. But it takes a lot of people rooting for you and giving you space to breathe on camera for that to happen. Like, one of my favorite directors on this show was this director, James Ponsel, who's really lovely and just a really good director. But a lot of the stuff I did, he would pick out a lot of the weirdest stuff that I did, and like it would make it. And then Jason would see it and be like, yeah, we're going to keep that. And then Bill Lawrence would see it and be like, yeah. And Brett, and they'd be like, yeah, and so that was really nice, because there's definitely, like, I always try to make sure I was doing a toned down version that was just the script the first few times that they have it. And then I would make sure to just try and make it like each scene as like unique as, like, something needed to happen in each scene. And so I tried to make sure that I was able to bring that to every scene that I did.
I can remember some moments where I was thinking, this must be improv. And I wonder if people are cracking up, because you can just feel like there's a different energy to it, which in a very positive way. But
thank you. I appreciate it, because it's like a lot of it is just trusting, like, that a lot of times I'll say something that doesn't work, and then that people aren't going to think that I'm on set, aren't going to think that I'm terrible. Maybe they do, but that I felt like I was in a safe enough environment to be able to do that. And that doesn't always happen. Like, we had a very cozy set. And I felt like everyone really loves each other on our set in a nice way.
that's great.
Yeah.
And I noticed you bring some of the of your two dope queens energy when you least expect it, which you kind of touched upon. I guess it seems like there's part of you in there, and you always made me smile, which is great, because the series does have some very serious moments. And did you ever throw people off and like have them like kind of break a scene and go, oh, that everyone's laughing too much or enjoying themselves too much to continue?
That's really funny. I don't know. I did a couple of times with Jason where he just couldn't, like, it just kind of got him, and those felt really good. With Harrison, I'd have it, but usually, like, probably mostly with Jason and Krista, actually quite a bit. I would get Krista a bit. Krista and Jason, I think, were the two that I would break. But then mostly if it's more of a dramedy scene or a dramatic scene, then I would want to be respectful. And it's not about like, I'm not trying to make them laugh. Usually as a supporting character, I'm trying to give every person in the scene something to act up against. So
Mhm.
if I, as Gabby, get a scene where I get to irritate Paul and be annoying, which is Harrison Ford, then I'm going to give Harrison Ford something just delightfully annoying so that he has something and feels like supported, because in the scene it like crackles because there's more tension, and I think that's what makes the scene come alive. But in particular, because I knew Jason could handle it, I would go pretty nuts, and those are the ones where I could just try and be as weird as possible and like nothing bad, like he could catch it. So that was really fun. That was like it was very liberating to be like, oh, I can just say whatever and it's gonna like you're gonna catch it. And that's fun, which is nice.
Mhm. I just by knowing your work, I'm like, you could tell this is some improv, but it fits right in. If you didn't know your work, you would not, you know, you would not pick up on that. But that's what's great about it is like you really brought a part of you into it,
Thank
which
you.
makes the character even much more relatable.
Thank you. Yeah, Two Dope Queens was definitely the podcast that I did with Phoebe Robinson for about 5 years. And we have some HBO specials. And what's great about that and what was great about the show is that we are definitely just two ladies, and we would know generally what topics we want to talk about, but we were discovering each other on stage, and we were discovering, we were just talking and just kind of improvising. And so that was really like nice to be able to do that on this job, as opposed to the Daily Show where you could improvise every now and then. But for the most part, we've got, this is a live show ish, we're taping it straight through, and you have a certain amount of time, so you can't like kind of go crazy. You could have moments where you improvise every now and then, but I felt like combining that with what I got to do on Love Life season 2 really culminated in Gabby in the first season of Shrinking, in a way where I'm like, oh cool, I'm like an actor and I'm in my 30s, and now I kind of know, like I'm learning what my wheelhouse is, and my wheelhouse, like where I am and what my capabilities are, if that makes sense. I feel like an
No,
older
sure.
actor than I used to be.
Well, kind of leads into what I was going to ask you is how have you evolved as an actress from, you're early on to where you are now. I'm sure you've done. I mean, I looked at your filmography. You did smaller roles, of course, like everyone does, but now you're working with Bill Lawrence, Brett Goldstein, Harrison Ford, Jason Segel, Krista Miller. It's like it's a who's who of people you'd like to work with. How do you feel you've evolved
Um,
as an actress?
I think I learned that I have a rhythm and I have these certain instincts, and that most of the time with acting, it's really hard because you're going to get no's most of the time. And then also, like a lot of times I'll get no's from people whose work I really like, and it's just not a right fit. And I think how I've evolved as an actress is knowing actually that I have my own rhythm, and that it's almost like dating, like the whole thing, and that it's like trying to find your rhythm and the people that, you know, play similar instruments or are accustomed to that rhythm but play it differently. And but like the biggest thing is sticking to my guns and trusting my instincts and trusting what I think is funny, and also I guess not trying so hard. I did say earlier like, oh, I was like acting, but I kind of like
Mhm.
I was, but then I wasn't trying hard to act. I was just trying to play the truth of the moment, and the truth of the scene was like my priority. And so then it was effort. It was like effortless. And I was so excited every day to go to work on this job. I think we shot for, I almost said shat, which is really funny. I think we almost shat.
That would not be good.
I think, I'm just going to say it. I think we almost shat for about 3.5 months. And, I was sad when it was over because I was like, oh, I love Gabby. I love Paul. I love Alice. I love these characters, and I'm sad to say goodbye to them for a bit. And I miss Gabby, so
Yeah, that's
it
great.
just made being free to create and trusting my instincts made work a joy. And it was like I'm so lucky.
Yeah, what I like about your characters of Gabby is that you weren't sure where she would fit in, or like how big of a role, and then by the time your arc just in one season is pretty amazing, and what you get to explore with her. And I mean, there's so many different sides of her that are explored throughout all these the chemistry or the relationships with all these different characters. And every time you sit down with someone different, a little bit more of Gabby comes out.
Mhm, mhm.
Is
Yeah, that was always the plan with her. They were like, we already wrote the pilot. This is a big character, but you'll get her more over time. And what was really cool about the first season is, we all learned about Gabby. A lot of times, on set, the writers would watch our dailies and then they would write the script based on what they saw playing between the different actors. And so they would kind of respond, and then I would respond to the script. And then we had this new aspect of Gabby. So they were responding to what I was improvising, and I was responding to their amazing writing. And then it just, by episode 5, 6, you really get a sense of who she is. And then also what's great now is that we understand by the end, you can tell we're sort of mixing and matching the characters. Like there's even something really fun with Gabby and Derek, like Ted McGinley, who's freaking
Mhm.
brilliant on our show. But even that's a really fun, relationship between D Train and G Spot. Like, so they sort of figured out that it became like this thing where you could mix and match everybody because we all had really good chemistry and we all had a sense of the timing. That's another reason why I'm excited about seeing where Gabby is in season 2. But it was like a very organic thing that we did to get to where she became.
Yeah, and it plays well. It plays organically. It doesn't feel forced, which sometimes you're like,
Oh, that's
here we
nice.
go. We're going to learn this about the character. You know what you're going to learn about the character before it happens. And
Yeah,
with this, you didn't know her journey. And then you're like, yeah, it's really kind of refreshing. And I don't know, it's easy to, like I said, relatable and connect with her.
thank you. Yeah, I think one of my favorite, like, oh, this is a fully Gabby scene, is the one where she walks in on Paul and Dr. Barham the morning after that they like sleep with each other, and she's just shocked that they were kind of together. And to me, it was like, it's episode 9. We're almost done. We had 10 episodes that season. And I think Neil, our head writer, he had seen me make this face before. And so he really his only thing was like, can you do that at some point in the scene? And that scene was really fun because I felt like Harrison and I understood our character's relationship. And it was like, I got to be like a kid in a candy store as an actor and play with all sorts of dances. And then Bill Lawrence jumped in and said, I want you to play with the wall. Like, I want you to like stick your head past the wall and this. And then I got to think about like puppets and what's funny about them and how they move. And so then there's like, it was just a really fun situation where I felt like I really understood Gabby and where she was in the space in a nice way. And it's like one of my favorite scenes that I've ever done.
That's great. Yeah. And going back and rewatching it, I think you can just sit back and take in the performances more. And there's so much that they have to offer. And you had these really big moments with Harrison Ford. So you're not only working with him, but just big moments in this series and in your character's story. What was it like? What was that experience like?
Oh, it was really amazing working with the Harrison Ford. Like, he's really inspiring, really nice guy, very giving actor. And I mean, it was surreal the first few days. I was like, what the fudge? Like, this is crazy. And I got used to his face pretty quickly. And then there was a really nice way to kind of transfer kind of how in awe I am of Harrison Ford to Gabby and Paul's relationship, because she loves Paul and he is like considered, he's a really, really, really good therapist. And he's like in some ways her mentor, in some ways not, but I feel like he comes through beautifully in the end for her in a good way.
Yeah,
But
it's a great moment.
it just added a nice layer. Like, it wasn't like I had to be, my character was like the boss of Paul. It was like, no, he's like the big boss and the head honcho. And it was really fun to do. Some of my favorite scenes are the ones where we're all in the kitchen. It's me, Jason, and Harrison, because the dynamic really shifts when it's the three of us together, in that it's a little bit of Jason and I wanting Harrison's approval, which I don't think is too far off from anyone. I think you meet Harrison Ford and you want to like have a beer with him or something, you want to drink with him and you want his approval on some level. And so it kind of wrote itself. But what was really nice, and what's maybe my favorite relationship on the show, one of them, is Gabby and Paul's relationship, because there's something really lovely about how he comes through for her at the end, and he shows up and kind of barges in the office. And even though she already got the job, there's this modern take where he's like, well, I'm going to do it anyway, and it's like he does this badass speech. And I don't know, it was just really, I feel really like lucky that for somehow on the timeline of Harrison Ford, I have these scenes where I'm singing Sugar Ray, with him in a car. Like that's like amazing.
Yeah.
I never would
For
have
now
thought.
yeah, forever.
Yeah, forever. Like I never would have thought.
Crazy. That was one of my favorite scenes. I love that. Not you. I liked when Harrison came in and you're like, good, go, go finally do what's right. But then when you already accomplished it on your own, it was like, what a great moment for everybody involved. It was just like,
Yeah, it's
a
like it made it
real
more
root
modern.
behind you moment. You didn't have to have anyone, do the work for you. You did it yourself.
Yeah. And it's nice that it like he does it anyway too. Like it's like a choice. So it's like for her, and that there's something very sweet about that. And
Mhm.
it was nice because that I think is episode 10. And again, it was like figuring out the first season of a show is really hard. And I think we really understood, like, I understood Harrison and his acting, and like I just understood the whole situation more. So I only become a more confident actor throughout the whole season.
And the relationship with Jimmy changes over the season quite a bit. What pushes them beyond that friendship line?
I think that happens a lot when people are grieving. I think the people left behind are like in such a state of grief, like that maybe, things get really messy and you can't really sort stuff out. And Gabby is also someone who lost like one of her best friends, but has also kind of stood to the side to kind of let that happen. And that was always the case, that was going to happen in the season, before I even signed on to the show. But I think it's like complicated, and something that what's nice about Shrinking is that the lines are really blurred, and it's about boundaries kind of being crossed and exploring complicated dynamics and not really having a bottom line. But I think just missing people and alcohol, and you have two very tall people in a room together, and then also like alcohol. Yeah.
What was it like working with Jimmy? How was he as a scene partner and
I love
kind of a
I
boss, I guess?
yeah, Jason was great. I love working with him. I was a huge fan of his before. And it was really crazy just kind of meeting him and doing our first couple scenes together. I think I got COVID because I went to Japan. So I didn't start working until 2 weeks after. So there was after everybody started. So it was a bit more build up for me. I was really nervous. And I think he was my first scene. And we would make each other laugh in the scene, but we were kind of shocked that we were making each other laugh. So we'd be like, oh, that's weird. Oh, that's funny. And then there was like the first few scenes we were like, you're funny. And the other person would be like, you're funny. And then it was just like, we just really kind of understood each other's moves and rhythms really quickly. And so it was very easy. Like, it was like one of the easiest people I've ever worked with, in that we really kind of just understood each other comedically in a way that was really surprising and very, very fun.
That's great. Is there an aspect of Gabby that gives you the most joy to play?
An aspect of Gabby that gives me the most joy to play is God, I don't know. She's fun. She's a piece of work. I found that after I rapped, I had to stop. I had the habit of saying things that I didn't need to say, that were kind of like a little rude. Like a few weeks after, I was like, I didn't need to say that. Didn't need to say that. So she kind of just says whatever she's thinking. Um, no, I love living in her. Her wardrobe, I love a lot. I like wearing her clothes. She's a really fun dresser. It was nice to be able to come to set and just wear like jumpsuits a lot of the time. But honestly, all of her is really fun to embody. Like she's just funny. She's funny. She's fun.
And you had big things in the future for your character, the relationship, the job. You're shifting away from your safe dick and all that. How do you hope your character will grow in season 2?
In season 2, I know some things. I'm very excited about
Oh, you
them.
know stuff. Oh,
Very
well, that's
exciting.
cheating.
Yeah, if I could tell you I would, but I can't, but you're gonna love it. It's gonna be really fun. I'm excited to get back to set and like work with Lukita and and Luke and Michael Urie and Krista and Jason and Harrison again. Like, I just want to be back on set and be Gabby and like just exploring her more and just making people laugh some more.
So it sounds like this is your dream job. Am I right?
It is.
It's like, it is.
Yeah, this is
That's
definitely
awesome.
my dream job. I love it. And also, I live in Eagle Rock, California, which is really close to the studio, the Warner Brothers studio that we're at. And so I just got to wake up and go to work, and it was a dream.
So as your star continues to rise, did you ever expect, to be where you are now? Did you, as a kid, watching shows with your grandma, seeing these things and aspiring to be that someday, did you ever expect to be it?
That's a good question. I knew I always wanted to be an actor. I knew I always wanted to do comedy. I didn't ever have a backup plan as just what it was at a very young age. So yeah, one day, but it wasn't like as detailed as how it is now. Like, this is way better than anything I could have imagined. Like, if I'd have ever told myself when I was a kid that one day I'd be a witch on, like a Harry Potter or like kind of universe witch, and that I would be on the Daily Show and work with Jon Stewart and Sam B and all those amazing correspondents, and then work with Harrison Ford and Jason Segel and William Jackson Harper. Like, no, I would never guess that. And that now it's nice because when I go out, if I go to bars and stuff, people just like to buy me cocktails. I never would have guessed that either, that people just love buying me drinks now, which is really, really, really nice. It's really nice. It's nice. That's what's great about playing Gabby too, is that people really like her and she reminds people of their friends like back home. And so it's really nice to go out to bars and people take care of me a lot, which is really nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
I feel like we've only, we only touched upon a little bit of shrinking. We can dive deep into Gabby and so much more of it, but we're out of time. But also, I'm excited because you did mention Harry Potter, and you've only been in the industry for how long? 10, 12 years, right? Maybe my math is wrong, but you've
No, like,
accomplished a lot already.
thank you.
Is my point,
Thank you.
and I'm looking forward to see what you bring next.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Steve.
Can I close out with a quick one?
Yeah.
3 words to describe Gabby.
3 words to describe Gabby: colorful, honest, and childlike, I think.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
And perfect.
I think about her a
Well
lot.
done.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much and have a great
Thank
night.
you for your time. You too. Thank you.
And best of luck with everything. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.